My sister had the police drag away my one-year-old son in handcuffs over a false blame. My parents just watched. Arrest him, my sister Victoria said, pointing at my son like he was some kind of hardened criminal. Her voice was steady, almost rehearsed, too rehearsed. The officer standing on our parents' front porch shifted his weight uncomfortably. Ma'am, he's just a kid. He stole my emerald necklace, Victoria snapped, cutting him off. It's worth $15,000. Check his backpack if you don't believe me. I stood there, frozen on the walkway, my car keys digging into my palm as I squeezed them tighter and tighter. My son, Danny, only 12 years old, was crying. Actually crying. His small shoulders shook as he whispered, Mom, I didn't take anything. I swear I didn't. The officers looked like they'd rather be anywhere else, but Victoria had always known how to work a room. One of them, younger than the other, maybe fresh out of the academy, knelt down and unzipped Danny's SpongeBob backpack. The one I'd bought him last month for his birthday. Inside, nestled between his math homework and a half-eaten granola bar, was a necklace. Emerald stones catching the afternoon light, looking like it cost exactly what Victoria claimed. No, I gasped, stumbling forward. That wasn't there. He didn't. Victoria folded her arms across her chest, and I saw it. That smirk. That same satisfied little smile she'd worn our entire lives whenever she got her way. Maybe you should have raised him better, Lorena. Behind her, through the screen door, I could see my parents. Mom, with her arms crossed. Dad looking down at his shoes. Not a word. Not a single word of defense for their grandson. The officers pulled out handcuffs. Actual handcuffs. For my 12-year-old son. The sound of the metal clicking around Danny's small wrists shattered something deep inside my chest. He turned to look at me, tears streaming down his face, his eyes pleading. Mommy, I swear I didn't do it. I know, I whispered, my voice cracking. I know, sweetheart. As they guided him toward the patrol car, I turned to Victoria. Why? She smiled wider, tucking a strand of perfectly highlighted hair behind her ear. Because you've always acted like you're so much better than me, Lorena. Like your little life is so pure and wholesome while mine is shallow. She leaned closer. Now everyone knows what your precious parenting gets you. A thief. That was the moment. The exact moment something inside me died and something else took its place. Something cold. Something calculating. Something that would not rest until justice was served. My name is Lorena Martinez. I'm 33 years old. I work as a medical billing specialist. I drive a 7-year-old Honda Civic, and I've never asked my family for anything. And that day, watching my son disappear into that police car, I stopped being the nice sister, the accommodating daughter, the one who kept the peace. That day, I became someone else, entirely. The moment the patrol car turned the corner, my parents started walking back inside like nothing had happened. Like their grandson hadn't just been arrested on their front lawn. Mom, I shouted, my voice echoing across the quiet suburban street. You just watched them handcuff Danny, your grandson. My mother turned, her expression tired and annoyed. Lorena, your sister wouldn't lie about something this serious. Maybe Danny made a mistake. Kids do foolish things. A mistake. That's what they were calling it. My son being dragged away in handcuffs was a mistake. My father cleared his throat. We'll sort this out quietly. No need to make a scene, Lorena. You know how Victoria gets when... When what? I interrupted, stepping onto the porch. When she lies. When she manipulates. When she destroys people for fun. Victoria was still standing there, examining her manicured nails like this was all just mildly entertaining. Face it, Lorena, she said sweetly. You've always been the chaos of this family. It was only a matter of time before it rubbed off on your kid. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice level. You planted that necklace. Her eyes sparkled with challenge. Prove it. She turned and walked back inside, humming. Actually humming. Like she hadn't just destroyed a child's life for sport. Mom touched my arm. Don't make this worse than it already is. I pulled away. How could it possibly be worse? That night, I sat in my car in the police station parking lot for 3 hours. Danny was inside, being processed like a criminal. They wouldn't let me see him yet. He was 12. 12 years old and being fingerprinted because my sister wanted to win some imaginary competition I didn't even know we were having. I replayed every moment from the afternoon. Victoria's calm demeanor, the convenient placement of the necklace, the way my parents immediately took her side, the way they always took her side. Victoria was the golden child, the successful one, director of operations at some tech startup in Austin, married to a corporate lawyer, living in a house that could fit 3 of my apartments inside it. And I was just Lorena, the single mom who got pregnant at 21, who worked 2 jobs to make rent, who drove a car with a dented bumper and wore the same 3 pairs of jeans in rotation. But I'd never asked them for money, never asked for help. I'd built my life on my own terms, raised my son with everything I had, and it still wasn't enough for them. By the time the sun started rising, I wasn't crying anymore. I was thinking, planning. Danny was released into my custody just after dawn. The charges were pending, they said. Juvenile court would review the case. His school would be notified. I watched him sleep in the back seat as I drove home, his wrists still red from the cuffs. This wasn't about a necklace anymore. This was about power. And my sister had just made her biggest mistake. She thought she'd broken me, but what she'd really done was wake me up. Danny didn't go to school the next day. Or the day after that. He sat on the couch, staring at the TV without really watching it, flinching every time a car drove past our apartment. "Mom?" he asked on the 3rd morning. "Am I going to jail?" I sat beside him, pulling him close. "No, baby. Absolutely not." "But I didn't take it," he whispered. "Why doesn't anyone believe me?" "I believe you," I said firmly. "And I'm going to fix this." What I didn't tell him was that I'd already started. The night they arrested Danny, I couldn't sleep. So I started digging. Not into Danny's innocence, I knew that without question, but into Victoria, into every corner of her perfect life that I'd been too busy, too tired, too defeated to notice before. I started with social media. Victoria loved posting. Her Instagram was a highlight reel. Charity galas, business conferences, vacation photos from Cabo and Aspen. But when you looked closer, really looked, things didn't add up. She'd posted about a business trip to Seattle in March. But I found a tagged photo from that same week at a beach resort in Tulum with her boss, Gregory Hammond. Not her husband. I kept digging. Her company, Vertex Solutions, had won a major city contract last year, a $50 million project to overhaul Austin's public transportation software. Victoria had posted about it endlessly, calling it her proudest achievement. But when I searched the city council meeting minutes, I found something interesting. 3 other companies had submitted bids. All 3 withdrew before the final vote. One of them, a firm called Redstone Tech, had filed a formal complaint about irregularities in the bidding process. The complaint was dismissed. 2 weeks later, Redstone's CEO was arrested for tax fraud. Convenient. I spent the next 4 days building a timeline. Every post, every photo, every public record I could access. I borrowed my coworker Sylvia's laptop when mine crashed from too many browser tabs. I drank so much coffee I forgot what it felt like to not be jittery. Then I found the real gold mine. Victoria's company had a subsidiary, a consulting firm called Hastings Group, our mother's maiden name. It was registered to a P.O. box in Delaware. And according to public tax records, Hastings Group received payments from the same city contract Victoria had won for Vertex Solutions. Payments totaling nearly $2 million for consulting services that, as far as I could tell, never actually happened. I printed everything. Bank records, corporate filings, photos, emails I found, screenshots of in her old blog posts. By Friday night, I had a folder 3 inches thick. And then I made a phone call I'd been avoiding for 6 years. "Detective Andrew Simmons," the voice on the other end said. "Detective Simmons, this is Lorena Martinez. You investigated my sister's company back in 2019 for embezzlement." There was a pause. "Miss Martinez, I remember, that case was dropped." "It shouldn't have been," I said. And I have proof. Another pause. Longer this time. What kind of proof? The kind that shows a pattern, I said. The kind that connects to a false police report against my 12-year-old son. Bring it in, he said. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. When I hung up, I looked at Danny sleeping on the couch. Almost there, baby, I whispered. Almost there. Detective Simmons looked older than I remembered, more gray in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes. But when I laid the folder on his desk, those eyes sharpened instantly. This is everything? He asked. Every transaction, every fake invoice, every shell company my sister's been using for the last 4 years, I said. She's been funneling money through her own consulting firm. Money that was supposed to go to public infrastructure. He flipped through the pages slowly, his expression darkening with each one. Jesus Christ. The necklace incident, I continued. She planted it. She has a connection in the department, Officer Warren Briggs. He responded to her call. They went to the same college. His wife works at Victoria's company. Simmons looked up sharply. I'm saying my sister used him to make me look like a terrible mother and to ruin my son's life, I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. Check the body cam footage. Check the timeline. Danny was at my apartment until 4 p.m. Victoria called 911 at 3:45, claiming the necklace was stolen that afternoon. He couldn't have taken it. Simmons leaned back in his chair, studying me. Why didn't you bring this to us immediately? Because 6 years ago, I watched you investigate her and then watched the whole thing disappear, I said. My parents hired a lawyer, strings were pulled, the case died. He nodded slowly. Your parents donated $250,000 to the district attorney's re-election campaign 2 weeks after we closed that investigation. Exactly. This time will be different, he said. I give you my word. I don't need your word, I replied. I need a warrant. I need charges. I need my son's name cleared. Simmons closed the folder. Give me 48 hours. And Miss Martinez? Stay quiet. Don't talk to your sister. Don't talk to your parents. Let me do my job. I nodded and stood to leave. As I reached the door, he called out, Miss Martinez? I'm sorry. About your son. About what happened. Kids shouldn't go through that. I didn't respond. I just left. Outside, I sat in my car and let myself feel it. All of it. The anger, the betrayal, the fear I'd been holding back for Danny's sake. Then I drove to Starbucks, ordered the largest caramel macchiato they had, and sat in the parking lot across from Victoria's office building. Her silver Audi Q7 was parked in her reserved spot. The vanity plate read, VIXN CEO. Subtle. I watched employees come and go. Watched Victoria herself leave at 6 p.m., laughing on her phone, designer purse over her shoulder. She had no idea what was coming. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app. I'd been keeping a record of everything, every call, every piece of evidence, every moment of this nightmare. At the top, I added one more line. Detective Simmons has the evidence. 48 hours. Then I scheduled an email. An email with every document, every photo, every receipt attached. The recipients, every major news outlet in Texas, the city council members, and the FBI's public corruption hotline. Scheduled to send in 72 hours. Insurance policy. The call came at 7:14 a.m. on Tuesday. Miss Martinez, this is Detective Simmons. We executed the warrant this morning. Your sister is being brought in for questioning. I was making Danny breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, his favorite. My hand froze over the pan. What did you find? Enough, he said. More than enough. The necklace had her fingerprints on it. Only hers and your son's from when officers made him touch it during the arrest. And we found texts between her and Officer Briggs, planning the whole thing. I sat down hard on one of our kitchen chairs. We also executed a warrant for her business records. Simmons continued. The DA is building a case for embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, and filing a false police report. Miss Martinez, your sister is looking at serious prison time. Good, I whispered. After we hung up, I sat there for a long moment. Danny came into the kitchen, his hair sticking up in every direction. Mom, are you okay? I pulled him into a hug. Yeah, baby. I think we're going to be okay. By noon, My phone started buzzing. Text after text, voicemail after voicemail. All from my mother. What did you do? The police are at Victoria's office. How could you do this to your own sister? I deleted them all without reading past the first few words. At 2:37 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? You vindictive bitch. Victoria's voice was shaking with rage. You think you're so righteous? You've destroyed everything. No, I said calmly. You destroyed it. I just turned on the lights and watched you scatter like a roach. I'm your sister. You handcuffed my child, I said, my voice dropping. You traumatized a 12-year-old boy because you were jealous. Because you've spent your entire life needing to win, even when there was no competition. It was just supposed to scare him, just supposed to teach you a lesson about what? I interrupted. About knowing my place? About staying small so you could feel big? Silence. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to face every single charge. You're going to lose your job, your reputation, everything you built on lies. And you're going to do it knowing that you brought it on yourself. Mom and Dad will never forgive you. They watched Danny get arrested and said nothing, I replied. I stopped needing their forgiveness a long time ago. I hung up. That evening, I took Danny out for burgers at his favorite place, a little diner called Johnny's that had the best milkshakes in Houston. He ordered a chocolate shake and actually smiled, really smiled, for the first time in 2 weeks. Mom, he said, dipping a fry in ketchup. I heard you on the phone earlier. Is Aunt Victoria in trouble? Yeah, sweetheart. She is. Because of what she did to me. Because of a lot of things, I said. But yes, because of what she did to you. He nodded slowly, processing. Then, I'm glad you're my mom. My throat tightened. I'm glad you're my son. Outside the diner window, the sun was setting over the Houston skyline. Everything felt different. Lighter. For the first time in years, I could breathe. The trial happened faster than anyone expected. Victoria's lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the DA's office wasn't interested. The evidence was overwhelming, and with Officer Briggs cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence, they had her dead to rights. I didn't attend most of the proceedings. I couldn't stomach seeing my parents in the gallery, looking at me like I was the villain, but I was there for the sentencing. Victoria wore a navy blue suit. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. The judge read through the charges. Embezzlement, wire fraud, conspiracy, filing a false police report, obstruction of justice. The list went on. Miss Victoria Hastings, you have used your position of trust and authority to steal from the public, to enrich yourself at the expense of taxpayers, and to weaponize law enforcement against a child. This court finds your actions reprehensible. My mother gasped from her seat. My father sat stone-faced. You are hereby sentenced to 6 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You will pay restitution in the amount of $2.3 million to the city of Austin. Additionally, you are permanently barred from holding any position in public contracting. The gavel came down. Victoria's shoulders shook. Her lawyer touched her arm, but she jerked away. As the bailiffs led her out, she turned and looked directly at me, not with anger. With something that might have been understanding, or maybe just defeat. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I pushed through them, keeping my head down, until I reached my car. My mother was waiting there, leaning against my Honda. Satisfied? She asked. No, I said honestly. But justice has been served. She's your sister, Lorena. And Danny is your grandson. I replied. But you didn't seem to remember that when he needed you. We were trying to keep the peace. There is no peace, I said. Not anymore. You chose Victoria over Danny. Over me. You always have. My mother's face crumpled. We just wanted... It doesn't matter what you wanted, I interrupted. You stood by and watched an innocent child get arrested. You called it a mistake. You told me not to make things worse. I opened my car door. I'm done protecting people who hurt my son. I'm done pretending we're a family. Lorena, please. Goodbye, Mom. I drove away without looking back. At home, Danny was building a Lego set at the kitchen table, the Millennium Falcon he'd been begging for. My neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, who'd been watching him, gathered her things. "Everything go okay?" she asked gently. "Yeah," I said. "Everything went exactly right." After she left, I sat down next to Danny and helped him find pieces. We didn't talk about the trial, didn't talk about Victoria or my parents or any of it. We just built, piece by piece. Later that night, after Danny was asleep, I sat on our small balcony with a cup of tea and looked out at the city lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Simmons. "The charges against Danny have been formally dismissed and expunged. He's clear." I closed my eyes and let myself feel it. Relief. Pure, complete relief. It was finally over. 3 months passed. Danny went back to school. The first few weeks were rough. Kids whispered. Teachers gave him sympathetic looks, and I had to meet with the principal twice to ensure he wasn't being treated differently. But kids forget. They move on. And slowly, Danny did too. His grades improved. He joined the robotics club. He laughed again, real laughs that came from his belly, not the forced ones he'd been giving me for weeks after the arrest. One Saturday morning, we were at the grocery store when we ran into Officer Briggs. He was in civilian clothes, pushing a cart with his daughter. When he saw us, he froze. I watched him war with himself whether to approach us or pretend he hadn't seen us. Finally, he walked over. "Miss Martinez," he said quietly. I wanted to apologize. What I did was inexcusable. I let my personal relationship with Miss Hastings cloud my judgment, and your son paid the price." Danny gripped my hand tighter. I looked at Briggs for a long moment. He'd lost his job, I knew. Faced disciplinary charges. His name had been in the papers alongside Victoria's. "Thank you for the apology," I said finally. "I hope you learned something." He nodded, his eyes drifting to Danny. "I have kids too. I can't imagine. I'm sorry." We left it at that. In the checkout line, Danny looked up at me. "Do you forgive him?" "I don't know yet," I said honestly. "Forgiveness takes time." "Are you angry at Aunt Victoria?" I loaded groceries onto the belt, considering the question. "No. I'm sad for her. She had everything and threw it away because she couldn't stand to see someone else be happy." "That's dumb," Danny said. I laughed. "Yeah, baby, it really is. My parents sent letters. I didn't open them. They tried calling, I blocked their numbers. My father showed up at my apartment once, but I didn't answer the door. Maybe someday I'd be ready to hear what they had to say. But not today. Not yet. Victoria wrote me from prison." The letter sat on my kitchen counter for a week before I finally opened it. "Lorena, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve the chance to apologize. What I did was cruel and unforgivable. I was jealous. I was bitter. You always seemed so content with so little, and it made me feel empty. I'm sorry I took that out on Danny. I'm sorry I took that out on you. I hope one day you can find peace. Victoria." I read it twice, then filed it away in a drawer. Maybe I'd respond someday. Maybe I wouldn't. But I didn't need closure from her to move forward. On a warm afternoon in late spring, Danny and I drove out to Galveston Beach. We spent the day building sandcastles, collecting shells, and eating overpriced ice cream. As the sun set over the Gulf, Danny leaned against me, sandy and exhausted and happy. "This is nice," he said. "Yeah," I whispered, wrapping my arm around him. "It really is." And for the first time in my life, I understood what peace felt like. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of truth, justice, and love that couldn't be shaken. We were free. Finally, completely free.